Sir, really good to see you back here. One of the first things you did after that entire session was you flew to Delhi, and then, for some reason, you flew straight to Khan Market. And you were in that picture, which we've got on our screen, saying, "Does this make me part of the Khan Market gang?" What did you mean by that? That was very cheeky, very tongue-in-cheek. What did you mean by that? You appear to know who you had triggered by your comment about intellectuals.
Look, thank you for having me on the program. And my first thing I did in Delhi was go see India Gate.
Yeah.
The very second thing was go to the Khan Market. I had to buy books, and everyone told me Bari Sons was the place to buy books,
Yeah.
and I bought half a dozen books on Indian democracy. While I was there, of course, I've heard this phrase, Khan Market gang, repeated endlessly. And the truth is, I wasn't trolling the Khan Market gang. I was trolling my many new followers on Twitter. I appreciate all of you. You've been very kind to me. But when people say, Salvatore, you have to, thank you for taking on the Khan Market gang, I wanted to remind them, I'm a member of this gang. I'm a liberal international intellectual whose first priority in Delhi is to go visit a bookstore.
Yeah.
So I'm fully part of that gang.
Yeah, I know you've received a lot of rude comments. There have been some sober things that have been said in response to you. The word triggered comes to mind immediately because you trended for a while on that day. Lots of people, have said things like, who is this guy, this white guy who's come in from the outside to lecture us and tell us about our intellectual class? How did you feel when you heard about that? There was one tweet, for instance, from a senior journalist, Madhavan Narayanan, who said, "Who is Salvatore Babones? Why is he important? Why should his opinion or perspective matter over mine or yours?"
Well, until 2 days ago, I made it a point of pride to answer every single tweet directed at me. For the last 2 days, that's simply been impossible. But many times I've had that comment, who are you? I've simply got that simple phrase, and I've said, look, I'm an academic, a sociologist, a comparative sociologist who is studying Indian democracy in comparison to other countries. I'm not an expert on India, I'm an expert on the rankings. Anyone can look me up. I have a strong publication record. You can read my books. My last book was named Best on Politics 2018 by the Wall Street Journal. That focused on American democracy. And this next book I'm working on now will focus on Indian democracy.
Why do you think people reacted in this manner? Why did people, you think, take it personally? The tweet that I just read out, Professor, that was pretty much similar to how many people reacted. Do you think people took this personally? Who is this guy? Why is he lecturing us?
I don't know how you
found... Or did it just, hit where it hurt?
I don't know how you found the negative tweets because I have been unable to keep up with all of the positive
The adulation,
tweets. Yeah. And it's been, look, it's very heartfelt. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Look, it's perfectly reasonable for people to feel, how can someone come in from outside and give us this lecture? After all, I'm writing about people who've come in from outside to give you a lecture on India's democracy rankings. So I'm very aware of that, and I'm very sensitive to the thought that I might be taking sides, so to speak, in Indian politics, when I've just written a paper about the problem of Indian intellectuals using the rankings to fight their own battles here at home. I don't want to be on any side, and I've been gratified that I've received a lot of positive feedback from people on all sides of Indian politics, and not just supporters of the BJP or Narendra Modi. Yeah. I'm thrilled that I'm talking to you here on India Today, not on a government TV channel, but on a proudly independent TV channel. This is the place where I'd like to be having this discussion.
The fact that you called the intellectual class anti-India, that one line has gone viral, Professor. Sure. But the session itself was more nuanced. You took more questions. There were other things that you actually said. Do you think it's unfair that people have just focused on that one line, or do you stand by it and you say that, no, that is what I meant. That's exactly what I stand by?
Oh, I stand by it. India's intellectual class is, I think, at heart, or I can't say at heart. Let me say that again. India's intellectual class, in its public persona, is anti-India. In its public persona, in its heart, I'm sure they're very proud patriots. Yeah. But when they go out into the public arena to talk about India, they're not highlighting, they're certainly not highlighting India's accomplishments, but more importantly, when they criticize India, as well they should, it's part of the role of intellectuals to be holding government to account, to be scrutinizing their own society. When they do so, they have not, again, as a class, they have not been doing so fairly and objectively. Yeah. Instead, I see tons of evidence of intellectuals selectively attempting to present the worst possible picture of India in their international commentary. Now, that is a problem for all Indians, even for India's intellectuals. It's one thing to criticize where criticism is due. It's another thing to try to find a way to criticize even where criticism is not due.
Does it surprise you, Professor, that this criticism, goes as far as to endorse descriptions of India as fascist, as a country that has moved to the extremes as far as right-wing ideology is concerned?
India is routinely described as fascist in the international media, often by Indian intellectuals. Obviously, that's ridiculous. Everyone in India knows that's ridiculous. But people abroad don't know that that's ridiculous. So when my own president, Joe Biden, says that our election tomorrow is a vote on democracy, implying that if people vote against him, that's the end of American democracy, no one takes it seriously. Americans don't take it seriously. Indians don't take it seriously. The world doesn't take that seriously. Everyone knows there will still be an election in America in 2024, 2028. It's going on forever. Foreigners, however, don't know that that's true of India. People abroad are not closely following Indian politics. If all they hear about India is that India is a fascist country or a country on the verge of dictatorship or that the next election will be the last in India, they're likely to believe it. Why shouldn't they believe it? India's own intellectuals are telling them that that's true.